The next morning. Okay, I wasn't sure if they were doing this is the end and it was really short, or if we're going to another day. Saying goodbye to the princess. Saying goodbye to everyone. Even Cassius. Hey Cassius. How you doing? Your Majesty, Your Highness, I humbly thank you both for your generous hospitality during my stay in your fine kingdom. You were even gracious enough to humor my brazen request of escorting me back to Heimdallr aboard the Arsail. This debt I owe you will be repaid many times over in the future. Rest assured of that. Oh, you needn't think of this as anything we went out of our way for. Escorting an honored state guest back home is a matter of course. Particularly a guest to whom we owe a great debt of gratitude. If you ever have the opportunity, please do come back to Liberal again in the future. I imagine Estelle and Joshua will be back by then too. So we'll all be able to give you a nice warm welcome. I'm already excited for my next visit. Have they left the country yet, by the way? They're busy getting ready to leave over in Roland at the moment, I believe. I'm planning to see them off when the time comes. I see. Incidentally, while the ruins of Hamel are currently sealed off, I'll do what I can on my end to ensure they are allowed inside. Could I trouble you to pass that along to them? Certainly. Thank you very much, Your Highness. Oh, think nothing of it. It's the least I could do after all they've done for me. I owe you a great deal too, Cassius. If not for your assistance, stopping that armored division from crossing into Liberal wouldn't have been as simple as it was. I could say the same to you. Still, I'm sure you're aware that outcome will have been well within the realm of possibility for the Chancellor. I doubt he was even surprised by the incident. Really? Most likely not. Erebonia had nothing at all to gain from using that situation to occupy Liberal. Certainly not to the extent that it would be worth going out of their way to develop inefficient steam tanks. The only reason I can see for him doing what he did was as a show of power to surrounding nations, a statement that even without orbital power, Erebonia's army could still act. I indeed suspect that was his true aim all along. Goodness. So you did notice. The orbital shutdown phenomenon was a complete unknown to the rest of the continent. Perhaps it might never occur again, but there's always the chance it might, whether it's here or somewhere else entirely. I hear the Empire only built a relatively small number of those tanks in all, too. Certainly not enough to launch a full-scale invasion. By the sounds of it, they were just put together in Rainford's factories using parts intended for standard orbital tanks. But as it stands, the know-how to put together tanks like that only exists in the Empire. And in these unpredictable times, no other nation has the time or resources to try and develop extremely insufficient steam-powered weaponry. In a sense, because of what just happened, the Imperial Army's effect as a deterrent is even greater than ever. He's using war as a diplomatic tool, and very effectively at that. None of this had even occurred to me. I have a long way to go before I'm fit to be the ruler of this country. Don't beat yourself up too much about it. He's no ordinary foe to even the most hardened veterans. The Chancellor always seems to be thinking several steps ahead of the rest of the world. It's impressive, no matter what we may think of his actual ideas. I'm quite the reckless fool to be trying to challenge him, if I do say so myself. Don't be silly, Your Highness. How can you say that with a smile on your face is utterly beyond me. You should focus on building yourself a strong foothold to begin with. I do hope you'll be careful. No matter what may occur, be sure not to lose sight of exactly where you stand. Of course, Your Majesty. If I were to go and bring shame upon myself now, I'd be wasting all the effort involved in escorting me back home. I'll be sure to take what you have said to heart. Excuse me, Your Majesty. Oh, it's Hilda. Whatever is the matter? It's not often I see you so flustered. My apologies, Your Majesty. It's just that a guest for you arrived all of a sudden at the castle. Ordinarily, I would not have rushed in while you were meeting with others, but the visitor is so irregular that I thought you should know at once. Irregular? How so? It sounds like it's about time I take my leave then. Actually, the visitor said he would like to greet you as well, and not just Her Majesty. What? Hilda, just who is this visitor? Well, he introduced himself as Chancellor Gileath Osborne of the Erebonian Empire. Oh, the guy that that Olivier is plotting against. I don't know why that face does not look fitting. It's an honor to be granted a personal audience. I'm Gileath Osborne, representative of the Imperial Government. My apologies for the abrupt intrusion. So you are Chancellor Osborne. It is a pleasure to see you again as well, Your Highness. It's been a year since we last met, has it not? I hope these passing months have seen you well. Yes, a year sounds about right. Still, while I hope you'll forgive me for asking, just what did prompt someone of your stature to appear at the castle without warning? I'd very much like to hear your side of the story. My apologies, Your Highness. You see, these past few days I've been touring Eastern Erebonia on routine inspections. It's been going very smoothly, more so than I had initially anticipated. I had enough free time in my schedule to pay a cordial visit. Oh my, is that so? Naturally, I would have preferred to come here while the crisis was still unfolding like yourself did, Your Highness. Unfortunately, the confusion in southern Erebonia was simply too pressing a matter, and I had no choice but to deal with that first. This was the first chance that presented itself to come here and meet directly with Her Majesty, so I acted with the utmost expediency? I hope you'll forgive my lack of proper decorum in failing to give advance notice of my arrival. That does make sense, at least. Regardless, please don't concern yourself with me. No doubt you wish to offer your greetings to Her Majesty. My thanks, Your Highness. What do you want? Well then, allow me to extend my most heartfelt greetings to both of you, Queen Alicia and Princess Claudia. It's abundantly clear that the crisis that unfolded here has been quite the ordeal for yourselves and for your nation's people. You have my deepest sympathies for the hardships you have endured, as well as my commendation for bringing the situation under the control. I thank you for your kind words, Your Excellency. If anything, we should be apologizing to you for the fact that the southern side of your nation was caught up in what should have been our problem. We should be the ones going to you rather than having you trouble yourself to come all the way to Liberal. I beg you to accept our apologies together with my deepest thanks for coming here today. I would never ask for apologies. I've heard what happened was the work of shadowy organizations stirring up trouble within your borders. While I meant well by sending a military force to aid you, I wouldn't have done something so careless had I known the truth of the matter. My actions were rash, foolish even, and I was rightfully reprimanded by His Imperial Majesty for them.
Oh my!
Fortunately, His Highness the Prince was able to act with all due haste to put right my misstep before even greater harm was done. I owe you a great deal of gratitude for that, Your Highness. And congratulations besides for your part to bringing an end to the crisis. Oh, I did nothing out of the ordinary. I had a lot of help from Her Majesty, Her Highness, and Brigadier General Bright here, too. Bright, you say? It's a pleasure to meet you, Your Excellency. I am Cassius Bright, a Brigadier General in Liberalian Royal Army. Ha! The pleasure is all mine, I assure you. Your name is rather well known even in the Empire. Not as much as yours is known here in Liberal. I would imagine it's an honor to be able to speak with you in person. It's certainly a surprise to be able to, though. Coming here on a whim can't have been easy for a man as busy as yourself. It sounds as though I may have underestimated just how capable you truly are. Not at all. I was greatly impressed to see the Royal Army's effectiveness in dealing with the tumults here. Your forces have proven powerful yet flexible, capable of dealing with emergencies ably and decisively. I might go so far as to say it embodies an ideal that the Imperial Army, with its swollen ranks, could never hope to realize. You flatter us, Your Excellency. For your part, I hear you were responsible for the establishment of the Imperial Army's famed intelligence division. Our army is in desperate need of a new one of its own, so I find myself quite envious. It almost sounds as though the two of us each want what the other has. So it does. May I ask, Your Excellency, what will you be doing now? For my part, I am intending to leave Liberal today, so I'm afraid I won't be around much longer. Yes, so I've been told. I believe you're intending to make your grand arrival in Heimdallr aboard the famous Arsail. I'm impressed you're already aware. I almost wish I could return to Arabonia on board it alongside you. But alas, I'm afraid I have other business demanding my attention after I'm finished here. I'll be leaving Liberal separately this afternoon.
That is a shame. I would have very much liked to invite you to this evening's banquet.
Please, you need not go to such trouble on my account. I feel as though I've put you out enough showing up unannounced as I did, to say nothing of dining with such esteemed company. Still, I do have some time before the airship I'll be leaving on is due to depart. That being the case, I might ask for a little of your time, Your Highness. I have a few things I'd like to discuss with you personally. Very well. I have some matters I would actually like to discuss personally with you as well. What a fortuitous coincidence.
Allow me to have a room arranged for the two of you to have your discussion then. Hilda, if you would. Certainly, Your Majesty.
Oh, goody! The guy that we're plotting against showed up right in front of us. Oh, and Graham Mueller can't be a part of it. Shit. Drop my controller. Before I continue, I need a sec. It's obvious that Her Majesty is quite the tea fancier. if this blend is anything to go by. The fragrance, the temperature, the taste. I'd be hard-pressed to find fault with any of it. I've always been more of a coffee man myself, but I have no doubt that I'd be content with a cup of this at my desk each morning. As much as I agree with you, I don't believe we're here to talk about beverages. So shall we get right to the point? What did you want to discuss with me? I see your sojourn in Liberal has proven most fruitful. Pardon? When we last spoke, you struck me as a bright, flexible young man. And no doubt you still are, but now I see in you a resilient inner strength girding those aspects. I'm sure His Majesty will be most delightful with your personal development. Meanwhile, I see you're the same fearless man I've always known you to be. More so, even, that crushing aura about you seems to have only grown with time. It's as if you feed on the resentment of those who live in the territories you annex. Such harsh words, Your Highness. Personally, I prefer the term political unification. Annex carries such a negative connotations, you know. Since the end of the 100 Days' War, our army hasn't committed a single act of aggression. All our unifications have been entirely peaceful. Oh, you're quite right about that. On the surface. Oh? It's amazing how similar the annexation process is every single time it happens. It starts with a small nation or independent state with an array of problems beyond repair. Those problems start to worsen, after which Jaegers and other dangerous elements enter, plunging public order to an all-time low. Desperate for a solution, the local government requests the help of the Imperial Army. Before they know it, they're part of the Empire. Well, it's not as though I can deny what you're saying. Each instance does share certain commonalities. It's to be expected, an inevitable consequence of the age of unchecked growth and progress in which we live. The Imperial Army is simply acting in the Empire's best interests, helping to stabilize our neighbors for the good of the Empire. And it's understandable that they would. I do find myself rather curious why Intelligence Division members are going to such nations with such peculiar frequency, well before the problems I describe worsen, no less. I won't press as to where you came by such information, as curious as I am. But I will say this. At its most basic level, these actions are about risk management. It's because we've been acting to minimize such risks beforehand that the Army has been able to successfully quell each problem that it in turn. With the small price of earning the disdain of the people in those nations and an increased risk of terrorism in exchange. To tell you the truth, I'm rather astounded that you had the courage to come here to Liberal all on your own to begin with. After all, you've made yourself the biggest target for terrorists in all of Arabonia. Your concern is touching, Your Highness. I would ask that you not trouble yourself with my safety. I employ some very skilled subordinates tasked primarily with eliminating the risk of terrorist attacks against me. Really now? The Elector is one of those, I assume? A rather peculiar fellow, isn't he? But a very useful one all the same. Working out the scheduling for his trip and taking all the necessary precautions to ward off terrorist threats were both his doing. And thanks to his commendable efforts, I can depart for a Crossbow free from worries as soon as I've finished my business here. Crossbow? Are you surprised? I'll be participating in a top-secret discussion with a representative of the Crossbow government. Recently, a large amount of funding has been flowing into the country through Republican channels, putting our allies on the defensive. I'd always meant to visit at some point, and this seemed to be the perfect opportunity. Are you out of your mind? Crossville is full of enemies and different factions at each other's throats. I hear it's now even a hotbed for terrorists and criminal organizations because of its position as a buffer state. Does that really sound like a place the Erebonian Chancellor should be going even on an unofficial visit? I'm surprised to hear you advocating caution in the face of potential danger, Your Highness. After all, it was you who flew onto the ancient city at great risk to your own safety and returned unharmed after surveying it. Compared to such rousing risk-taking, my visit to Crossville will be child's play. As I'm sure you're aware, you're regarded as something of a hero back in Erebonia now. To see a hero make a grand return befitting his newly minted legend, and aboard the famous Arsail no less. Naturally, our hero has also taken the time to ensure that every well-known newspaper and magazine are aware of his hero homecoming too. Excuse me. Oh, I have no doubts that your triumphant arrival will be every bit as glorious as it has played out in your imaginings, Your Highness. Do be sure to capitalize on this chance as best as you can to build yourself a firm foothold. I expect great things from you, after all.
Well, everything we did was shut down. Hey, Sieg. Hey, buddy. You haven't changed a bit, huh? Really? Sounds like a ton's happened, huh? But it's nice to see you and your master are doing all right. Lecter? Well, good day to you, Your Highness. I pray I'm not causing any trouble by taking a tour of the castle like this. The view from this terrace certainly is beautiful, isn't it? What happened to you, Lecter? How did you end up working for Chancellor Osborne? I'm sorry, I haven't the faintest idea what you mean. Are you perchance mistaking me for someone else? Your name is Lecter Arundel. You were the student council president at Genis Royal Academy, which you attended before leaving suddenly 2 years ago. So no, I am not mistaking you for someone else. But that is where you're wrong, because my name is actually Lectorindel. I can certainly see how our names could become mixed up. However, they are scarcely close. Still, now you know. Please, just call me Lec. Don't try and joke around with me, Lecter. Do you have any idea how worried all of us were when you just disappeared without a word? You submitted your notice to leave the academy and then were never seen again. Even the otherwise calm Leo let out a cry of anger when he found out. And all Lucy could do was give a sad smile and say, "This is just like him," the whole time with tears in her eyes. Jill and Hans were heartbroken, and so was I. Yet after all that, after all this time, you finally show yourself, knowing full well that I'm here, and this is how you act? By pretending you're someone else? Lecter! Sorry, no need for the scary glare. You're still taking things way too seriously. Looks like it'll take more than stepping up as Crown Princess to change that part of you. But you know,
Seeing you makes me feel kind of relieved. I always figured if someone like you became crown princess, you'd have virtually no freedom to do anything other than work. But from all that's reached my ears, sounds like you're actually doing all right for yourself. And you even made some great new friends after I left the academy, didn't you? Nice.
I sure did. Nonetheless, it's thanks to you that I was able to change at all. You were the one who gave me the first push in the right direction. I never got the chance to thank you properly after you left. But all this time, I've always been grateful to you.
Well, consider me honored. Do I get a kiss in return?
You do not. I may feel respect towards you, but nothing romantic.
Ah, that's a bummer. There was me, all taken in by how pretty you'd become, wondering if this could be the start of something downright magical. And what happens instead? My dreams of romance and sweet smooches are crushed to nothing before they can even begin.
I know you don't mean a word of that, you know. You're looking very sharp yourself, though. It's surprising to see. Every time I've seen you before today, it was in that heavily frayed uniform worn in the most sloppy way imaginable.
I think you'll find I was merely making a fashion statement. That wasn't laziness or slobbishness. Every part of it was carefully calculated and considered to have maximum effect.
The scary thing is, I actually believe you. You always seem as if you cared for nothing but having fun and causing trouble. Yet when it came down to it, you were wise beyond your years. And I've finally seen part of the reason behind that today. I'll ask you again, Lecter. How did you end up working for Chancellor Osborne like this? Just what happened to you between your submitting your notice to leave the Academy and now?
Do you now? I have to admit, I never imagined that would be the case. On the contrary, I was expecting you to tell me to back off. Oh, Idios forbid. What reason would I have to suggest such a thing? After all, at the end of the day, our positions are functionally the same. I'm not sure I understand. Do you not think so? Personally, I find it difficult to believe that you would not harbor some hatred toward Erebonia as it is today. A grand empire clinging to the glories of a bygone era, ruled by the nobility and shackled by meaningless conventions. Am I wrong? People call me the Blood and Iron Chancellor as though I hold the whole of Erebonia in the palm of my hand. But in reality, my position is far more tenuous. I have supporters and allies in the capital, certainly, but outside its walls, the nobility holds far more sway than any of them. And while it is true that I hold a great amount of power in the form of the Imperial Army, even then I truly only command about 70% of it. The remainder is loyal to the nobility, who also maintains their own private armies. With those factored in, my advantage shrinks substantially. So you see, I still lack very much in the midst of a battle to truly exert control. Which is why you're building railways all over the country to expand your area of influence. And you've been annexing new territory to that same end. As I've long thought, you clearly understand me better than anyone else. That is why I'll say this once again. Work with me, Your Highness. With your support, our nation will be able to bring about real reform faster than ever. The noble faction, bloated with its centuries of decadence, can be stopped before they even have the chance to unify against us. Surely that's what you desire more than anything. Let me just ask a simple question, Chancellor. What connections do you have with Ouroboros? I'm afraid I'm not quite sure what you're asking. I will say this, however. I'm a firm believer in using every resource at my disposal in the name of achieving reform. That is why I believe in handling politics. I see. Well, it certainly does seem as though we would see eye to eye in many ways. And that's all the more reason why I'm afraid I must refuse your offer. Is that so? Yes. I find it difficult to like the rotten noble faction that exists in the Empire. Or perhaps you're right that hate is the more appropriate word. But my feelings of fear towards your methods are far greater than my feelings of hatred toward the nobles. What you seem to be doing is trying to compel Erebonians with a delusive utopia to whip them into an enthusiastic frenzy. No doubt by successfully convincing the people the old guard will fail into the metaphorical firestorm created, and yet by then the gears will have already begun turning. There will be no satisfying a roused populace with a thirst for revolution. The storm will just keep growing larger and more ravenous, engulfing anything and everything in its wake. You know this, don't you, Chancellor? But of course. After all, that's what I intend to happen. It's the first stage of my reforms. I'd be more than happy to share further details with you if you were to decide to work with me, Your Highness. In the meantime, I wish you well in strengthening your foothold back in the Empire. Of course, if that's your intention, you'll find it a necessity to work with those nobles you so despise. You truly do see through everything, don't you? Well, that sounds like the noon bell. The airship should be arriving shortly. Which means it's time for me to take my leave, I'm afraid. I look forward to seeing you again in the capital in 2 weeks' time. Oh boy. That didn't go well at all. I take it the discussion is over then. What's wrong? You look awfully tired. Oh, nothing. I'm just feeling awed anew with what a monster I decided to pick a fight with. Oopsie. I think it's probably about time for the airship to arrive. I'm going to have to stop you there and get going. What? See ya, Sieg. Next time I see you, bring some Erebonian salami as a souvenir, okay? Wait, are you planning to just disappear without telling me anything a second time? Oh, got an important question for you. Did you fall in love with someone while I was away? Hit the nail on the head, huh? Aw, that's so cute. First love, right? How does that feel? Heart all aflutter one minute, end of the world the next? Don't you dare start teasing me. But you're right, though. I did. He rejected me in this very spot not that long ago. Wait, you're joking, right? There's a coincidence I didn't see coming. I'm not so sure about that. It feels like you know everything sometimes. I'm not some kind of all-knowing, all-seeing divinity. That's what makes the world so interesting to me. I'm happy for you, Chloe. Knowing the pain of lost love's what makes a girl blossom, in my humble opinion. Do you feel like the whole experience let you get a step closer to the person you want to be? Well, what about you? Do you feel like you're getting closer to becoming the person you want to be? By being the Chancellor's side? Kinda hard to do that when I don't have a person I want to be to begin with.
I'm just sticking with him because it feels like it'll be fun, that's all. I've been doing it since before I joined the academy, in fact. You have? That prince is proving surprisingly capable, but he still isn't a match for the Chancellor. Tell him to watch his back, alright? So that he doesn't get swallowed up by that monster after he gets tired of dancing. Goodbye, Lecter. Are we having a resuming of the meeting? No. The Calabria International Airliner bound for the Principality of Remiferia will be departing momentarily. Please mind your footing when boarding. Lecter. And away the monster goes. So that was the Blood and Iron Chancellor. I can't believe he actually went out of his way to use a civilian airship when he probably has a private one of his own. I'd heard rumors about how out of the ordinary he is, but he lives up to all of them. He keeps me on my toes, to put it playfully enough. Him aside, thanks for coming all this way to see me off, Shara. I was lucky. I just happened to have business here at the right time. It feels like this is going to be the last chance we get to see one another for a while after all. Rather unfortunate, as my dream is and always was to live away my days in the lap of luxury surrounded by women as beautiful as you. Well, good luck with that. Changing the subject, though, who was the young man at the Chancellor's side? He didn't strike me as your ordinary guy.
Oh, you could tell?
But of course. I'd say I'm used to running into people who are out of the ordinary at this point. We've sure fought enough of them.
His name's Lecter Arundel. He's a secretary who was sent here by the Imperial government. Apparently, he was the one who planned out all the details of the Chancellor's visit to Liberal. I can't pretend to know much regarding his background, but he's exceptionally skilled at what he does.
Actually, I know a little. What? Oh?
Is that true?
Yes. Claudia explained that Lecter once attended the same academy as her and had served as its student council president. She also mentioned about his sudden disappearance after the Academy Festival 2 years ago.
Unbelievable.
Then,
someone connected to the Chancellor had visited Liberal first. Then he's very likely to have had his own veritable information network established here long before I even came up with the idea. I think it's safe for us to assume that's the case. Which also means that it's safe to assume he knows every detail about about all that's happened here since. From the coup d'etat to the crisis regarding the Oriole, all of it.
This man gets more unbelievable by the minute. He actually gave me a message to pass on to you earlier, too. Watch your back, so you don't get swallowed up by that monster when you get tired of dancing.
He sure knows how to sting when it hurts, doesn't he? I feel like I can see a whole new world of pleasure opening up before my eyes. You should know better. Getting outdone at every turn like this is really not my style.
What do you mean?
Captain Schwartz, I have a little favor I'd like to ask for when we're in the air. A plan? Alright. So, bad guys, what do you have planned? Wait, this song. Yeah, I've heard this one. Okay, so if this is played in the game already, then I don't remember. What I'm referring to, I believe, I want to say, was on the Trails of Cold Steel soundtrack. I'm rather impressed with how Prince Olivert has come along. No matter how he chooses to act from here on, he will have his uses, to be certain. You would say that, given that you think of everyone as your pawns. There's me, the prince, that society. Indeed, and I am much the same. We are but pawns in the vast game board that is the Empire, where a thrill like no other will take place. But it's because you two wish to see how that game plays out that you've chosen to stand with me, is it not? Well, hey, what can I say? Just don't forget that this piece right here might not be loyal forever. And such a betrayal would be perfectly fine by me. Or did you honestly think I'd never consider the possibility it may happen? Just thought I'd come out and say it. How are the other Ironbloods doing, by the way? They're all doing very well, by the sound of it. At the rate things are going, there's a chance all of the prince's efforts will be for naught. Perhaps I ought to hold back on him a little. You say, you sure don't pull any punches, do you? You know something? I wouldn't write him off so easily if I were in your shoes. What? See, I say, What? How? Those look like rose petals.
If you look out the windows on the right-hand side of the airship, you will be able to see... Oh, you've been informed that this is on its way to the Imperial capital with Prince Olivert on board. But he has also given us a message to relay to all passengers on board today. I give thanks to Idios for the good fortune. May your journey be filled with the most beautiful roses and her blessings. And of course, may your journey to your homes be a safe and pleasant one. That marks the end of his message.
He just used one of his crafts. He used his healing skill. Olivier, you're using your CP all wrong. Come on. So what was the point of that? I never thought there was a bigger dumbass in the world than me. And yet here we are. Huh. Very well, debaucherous Prince. I look forward to seeing what you can do. Show me how long you can hold out against me. I mean, that is a pretty good end to that door. Divine Eye. 7,000 Mira. Alright, Divine Eye, huh? What does it do? Scent, Eagle Eye, Information, Septium Vein, and Luck. Holy cow. But scent draws in enemies, right? Yeah, I don't want that. Oh boy. That was quite the mouthful. Anyway, so, you know, I've completely and utterly lost track of where we were. Okay, I remember that little path, so there are two here. I want to take this one first. See if it leads to a dead end. It does. Huzzah! Another one of you. Ambral bracelet. What does that do? Prevents movement and speed down. Okay. Don't need it. Man, these guys would be good for grinding, I would think, anyway. Alright, I want to cut and I'll meet you back at the door. Alright, I think I'm back. So I'm going up to that one next, huh? Alright, what you got for me? Alright. It pays to know. I need to start making sure that when I only see one monster on the field, that is the only monster around. There's a spider there. I didn't realize it. And it almost got a death turn on me. Want that. The Giardine. Nope. Alright, Reese. Nope. Oh. Alright, let's see. Need someone to heal. I just had to get used to Dragon Dive. Wild Rage 2, Dragon Dive. Oh, I already went that way. That was the way I came in. Alright, what's in here? 3,000 Mira. Empty. Someone must have taken the chest phrase that used to be in here. Okay, what's next? Okay. Sure. Wasn't feeling that one. Long staircases are long. Got 200 every Sabbath again. Got a bad feeling about this. Give me a warp point. Yes. What has it got? More of... You know, I probably should have expected this. Ooh, a sapphire gem. Should probably get that. What's the wood gem? Impede 5. Action 5. EP cut 5. So many options. But unfortunately, I'm not doing too good on that stuff. Here you go, Shara. What can I get? Buy one of those. Rose Ripper. Excuse me, I would like 4 of those. Oh, okay, that's what I was seeing. There we go.